Welcome to Oulton Park, where the race is about to get started. We're starting 8th this time, which was surprisingly common this week. Often, a third of the grid did not set a valid time in qualifying because they went off track on both laps. Meanwhile, P7 had a poor start, so we're already past him. The 5 car gets a poor run out of turn 1, and we're just about past him by turn 3. He plays nice and slots in behind. The car on the left is serving a slowdown penalty for cutting turn 1. Graceful of him to do so off the racing line. You've probably noticed, but we're driving kind of shaky. Truth is, this was my first race of the week, and I only had 20 minutes of practice in total, so I was still trying to figure out the right lines at this point. The 12 car puts a wheel on the grass here, and loses his drive over the hilltop, so that's another quick position for us. Then the next car ahead gets a drift over the curb, which he holds, and loses. Another one bites the dust. We're already on the podium here, so I'm feeling optimistic about things. Then again, this was my race to lose this week, as it was the lowest SARF I had. The only worry was that I jumped in with very little practice and struggled with both pace and consistency. Luckily though, those struggles didn't make me stand out in this crowd. My best lap this race, a 1:53.4, which I set with a slipstream, is a good 0.6 slower than what I would consider nice race pace. It is also well over a second slower than what the really fast mates are doing around here. But the real struggle this week was to make a safe pass stick. There really aren't any great passing opportunities around here, and I would argue the first chicane is the biggest problem. By breaking up what could have been a bit of a slipstream run into two insignificant straights separated by a duct that can only fit a single car, you have essentially guaranteed that all passing moves will have to be shady. If the car ahead does not make a mistake, you are essentially stuck behind them. Luckily, mistakes are likely to happen. You might have realized that this was my only win, or else I would be posting another one where I was driving a bit faster. But the results were not too bad overall this week. We had 2 seconds for a total of 3 podiums, and 4 fourths for a total of 7 top 5s in 10 races. The pace also improved a little bit over the course of the week, but I'm still slow by top split standards. This is where the lead car spins. That's very convenient for us. It also didn't hurt our prospects that the second car went on the grass to avoid him, so we're right on his bumper now. Let's just get a better look at that spin. He got too far up on the curb there, and lost the car on the landing. Well dodged by the second car though. We're chasing P1 now, and I'm really not sure where would be the best place to make a move. The first option would be the turn 5 hairpin, but that's very tight, and too easy to block without losing exit speed. Not this time, I guess. The next option would be the second chicane, but that would require a mistake from him, or a miracle exit from the first chicane. Impossible to make a move at this range at least. The fastest lap is coming up now, so although it's not very fast, I will talk us through it. We aim to get the straightest line possible through turn 1, and we can use a fair bit of grass both on the inside and on the exit without getting it off track. I was too careful this time. Turn 3 has a dump on entry, which kind of serves as a braking point in this car. The track limits on the exit here are super strict, so be careful. Turn 4 is almost full throttle, but probably just almost. You're also basically dead if you get onto the grass here, so usually better safe than sorry. Turn 5 should be first gear, but I didn't figure that out yet at this point. Also, make sure to get the downshift done before turning to avoid an embarrassing spin. The first chicane is the worst. I just clench my butt cheeks and hope for the best every time. None of the lines I tried were any smoother through there. The second chicane is a little better, but still a tricky one by all means. You can also make a pass stick into here if you have enough overlap at the braking point. I would say you should make the left bend a little tight to get the widest possible line into the second right-hander, and focus on getting a good run up the hill. Then I need to lift here as I'm getting a little bit too close. But sticking your nose on the inside into turn 15 is just bad manners, so I chose not to. Turn 16 has a very blind exit, and it's all about having the correct line drawn in your mind as you go into it. I found that it's faster on second gear, unless you were getting the line all wrong. Speaking of poking your nose in, turn 1 is also a poor spot to do so, but it was the only place I had a decent run on him. He wisely backs out and gets a mega run on the exit, a masterclass switcher as they call it. He wasn't shy on the brakes into 3 either, very well done. And so the hunt continues. He must have a complex with this corner, because I close the gap here every time. Once again we kind of get a run out of the final corner, but not quite as much as last time, so I back out of it. Then whoops, and whoops again. That was a double tap. I am so sorry. We'll try that from a different angle. I'm definitely close on the straight, but it seems like he brakes later. Then he suddenly slows down on the exit, and I tap him from behind. After the initial bump, he probably panic slams the brakes, and it ends up being a double tap. Could I have done more to avoid this? Sure, I could have slammed the brakes, but I underestimated the speed difference and only lifted instead. Then I started sliding myself after we touched, and had to straighten back up, which does not go hand in hand with stepping on the brakes. It might also be worth mentioning that my brain was not prepped to react to his slow exit, as his line into the corner was much better than mine, so the expectation was that he would pull away. But I can make excuses all I want. At the end of the day, this was a very unfortunate happening, and we should actively look to avoid this kind of incidents. So now, let's have a minute of silence for Matthew and his run for the win. Okay, may the odds be ever in your favor. We are now on to lap 7, and running in the lead. Our pace is rather lackluster. It's a little hard to tell if that's because we took some minor damage on the bump, or if it's just nerves and karma kicking in. Either way, the car behind seems to be catching us little by little, and at this rate, he might be on our bumper before the race is over. It does, however, seem like he's really pushing to find that pace, so we'll just have to see if he can do 4 more clean laps. Of course, I need to keep it together as well. Easier said than done with that first chicane almost killing me every lap. Three laps to go. 2 laps to go. Final lap. This is looking good. This might be a good time to mention that likes and subscribers are really important. Not that I'm begging you to subscribe, because that would mean you have to receive notifications every time I post a mediocre video. Who would want that? Just for the style points, I guess. The car behind spins on the final lap to solidify my lead, going into the final corners. And despite the bitter aftertaste, and the dream of what a fight it could have been, this concludes my first no quali win, the only one so far. And so the hunt for the perfect race continues.